All right, good morning. Glad you guys are all here watching online. You can give us a thumbs up, let us know you're here. Get right into it. I'm going to kind of try to move fast today, but we're in this RelationSlips series, and what I wanted to talk to you guys about is something that hit me when I was about 15 or 16. Trust me, teenage guys do not think about relationships. Well, we think about girls, but not relationships. And but something hit me, and I think it was because living in my home, and then you start like spend the night with people, and you kind of get older and kind of watch. And here's what I want to share. It hit me at my age. It seems like for some people, relationships are just like easy. I mean, it's almost like they just naturally get along. I watch married couples, and I'm like, it seems like they really are happy with each other. And then I watch other ones, and people close to me and all that. It's like, man, they struggle. It's like they can't figure this out. And so at about that age, I'm just like, I didn't go that deep into it, but I've always kind of thought, why does it seem easy for some people, but then for others, it's like, we just can't do it. And it's across the board. And so I started thinking through and ended up through a series of crazy events, ended up teaching a young adult Sunday school class, had no clue what I was doing, so I just started reading books. Everyone in the group saying marriage was a mess, couldn't figure it out. So luckily for me, early on in my marriage, I also spent a lot of time thinking through, how do we have better relationships? And if you're not married, it's okay. If you're engaged, this is good for you. Even for work relationships around me, it's like, how can I figure out certain relationships, and I'm good at those, but I'm terrible at this one. And hopefully today I can help you with some of this. But I'm going to be real stereotypical real quick, okay? I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. But if we're talking to the guys in here, and if there's a guy watching online, can I just be honest for a second? All guys hear relationships and all this advice. You're like, ugh. Like if you're in the car and your wife's like, you think we could talk about our relationship? You're like, no, I don't want to talk about anything we do. You think we could fix our marriage? No, right? Why? Because for a guy, when you hear fix a relationship, all I hear is you need to fix me, right? And I had a dog that got fixed once, and I don't want that. Right? I mean, that dog didn't seem happy. He seemed like he moped around the rest of his life. So I don't need fix. So I was trying to think, how can I put this for both? And again, some of you might be like, in our relationship, it's polar opposite. That's fine. It's not everybody. But I was thinking, we took a cruise last week. So we left on Monday morning. We had to drive to Tampa, 14 hours. And we're in the car, and we're not even to Moorhead yet. Okay, so we've been driving past Grayson. 40 minutes. And I look, and on my dash, this check engine light is flashing. And I'm like, Jonda, do you notice this check engine light flashing? And she went, yeah. And I was there like, no, should we do something about it? She's like, I think we'd just ride it out for a while. I said, we've got to drive 14 hours. Like, what do we do? What do we do if it's late tonight and we don't have it? I was like, we got to figure something out. And she was like, okay. So we end up stopping at Moorhead. We'd take 2 hours waiting for all this stuff to happen. It's miserable. But I'm like, I'm not leaving until we get this fixed. I've been in her car before. I'm not making this up. I've gotten in her car with her. She's dropped me off somewhere. And I look, and I'm like, you're like 2 notches below E, right? Haven't noticed? So you don't even look at your gas? Sometimes I don't, right? And she had 2 different lights just blinking. I'm like, what about those? Yeah, they've been doing that for a while. And then take it more. I'm like, what's that sound in the back? It sounds like metal is grinding on metal. I just turned the radio up, right? And here's my point, and here's why I'm telling you that. Because the way I probably feel about a vehicle, like if it's making noises, if something's wrong, I need to fix it, is the way she probably would feel about relationships, right? But when you flip it, it's like my wife would say, unless our car is broke down on the side of the road, we don't have to mess with it. Men in this room are saying, look, if our marriage isn't just completely gone, we don't have to mess with it, right? So I'm trying to help you kind of see both sides of this. So let me give you I'm going to go through 3 kind of stories in the Bible that have nothing to do with relationships or marriage, but I think they might be the 3 best possible to talk about relationships and marriage and how do we kind of make this work. But before I do, I want to give you the worst relationship advice, okay? So if you want to ruin it, this is the great prophet Ricky Bobby, okay? Ricky Bobby figured it out. Of course, his dad gave him this advice. And if you know the movie, remember what he says? Ricky, I was high when I told you that. Right? But still, either way, if you ain't first, you're last. And the reason I'm sharing that with you, because this is going to part 1 today. Mother's Day, I'm hoping to do kind of part 2 with this. But I want to help you. If you can get this concept in your head, I'm telling you, As I started watching 16, 18, 19, 20, early marriage, you start realizing there's some concepts that smart and happy people do and unhappy, and not that you're not, all of you are smart in here, don't get me wrong, but relation-wise, not very smart. So hopefully I can kind of help you with it. So here's the story in Luke 9, starting in verse 46. Jesus has his followers, his 12, a couple other people, they're walking together, and it says, then his disciples began arguing. That's underlined in my Bible for a reason. Arguing. What causes argument? What causes our issues? We're about to see. Almost all your issues can be traced back to this moment. About which of them was the greatest. You see, as long as I need to get my way, I'm probably going to argue with the people that in my home, that I'm married to, that I work with. Why? Because all arguments start with, I need to get my way, and I can't understand why you can't see my way. Because ironically, my way is also the right way. Anyone notice that? My way is the best way. Why else would I do it if it wasn't? And you can't see that. They began arguing. But Jesus knew their thoughts, so he brought a little child to his side. Then he said to them, anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf welcomes me. Anyone who welcomes me also welcomes my Father who sent me. Whoever is the least among you is the greatest. Now, my wife's in here, so she can verify I'm not lying about this. There's a parable that Jesus taught that I love. It's actually one of our 6 core values. And we taught our kids that, hopefully when they're very young, tried to really beat that in their heads. But Jesus said, if a guy's starting a banquet, and you walk in and you're like, I know him, I'm important, and you sit up front. So you just take this row. We got these wonderful 4. And I won't say anything about birthdays, anything else, we'll just leave. But these wonderful 4 people, right? And he's like, if you go sit in the front of the banquet, and then all of a sudden, he's like, Cassie, what are you doing here? No, get in the back. I want someone more important to come up here. Then Cassie's going to be embarrassed. So Jesus said, no, when you come to this dinner, sit in the way back. So then I'm back there, and I'm like, Jeff, what are you doing back? Get up here. You're my guy. Get up front. And we taught our kids, we said, we want you to fight to get to the back of the line. Now, when you're a little kid who has a sibling and you fight over everything, that's the worst advice you've ever heard, right? For us as adults, we're like, that sounds like terrible advice. But you fight to get to the back of the line. Why? Because Jesus said, when you live a life that fights to get to the back, we said, cafeteria line, choices in life, all this, you're going to fight to get to the back of the line. Why? Because Jesus said, whoever's least among you is actually the greatest. Whoever lives the greatest life is actually the one who chooses the path of being least, less self. So I want to give you some advice. If you fight to win, you'll always lose. If you fight to win, if you make it about you, I promise you, you will never ever fight and say, but I got to win the argument, I got to win this, I got to prove it work, I'm in charge, I don't think these people are paying attention to me. Anytime I fight to win in relationships, I'm going to lose. Now let me explain this, and this is kind of personal with me, my wife and I, but just to kind of help you guys out. My wife grew up with all sisters, lovely home, great people. My wife has some core convictions. And I think she would admit this. I didn't ask for permission, so we might be in a fight on our way home. And then next week will be all about ask your wife for permission before you say personal stuff about her. But in all honesty, my wife, if I can tell you, there's things that, of course, all of it matters to us, but matters more to her than it would ever to me. One is peace. My wife loves peace. If you say, oh, this couple we know is in turmoil, it destroys her. She can't fathom a world. She just wants everything to be. Now, that's not how life works, but I'm saying it matters so much to her. So if our kids, even when they were little, they would be fighting, and she'd be like, I just wish they could get along. I'm like, they're not going to. They're siblings. They're going to hate each other, okay? That's how it works. But she wanted peace. The other thing that's very important to her, she doesn't want anyone to ever look or feel stupid, including herself. Like, it's very important to her. Like, so if you just walk by, oh, they're so dumb. She's like, it kills her soul. So my wife loves peace, and she loves people never feeling like less than or dumber than. Now, let's flip over to me. I grew up with all brothers in chaos, right? So I don't just welcome chaos. I kind of embrace it because that's how I've known. But I'll tell you this, both my brothers, and they'll verify this. I probably feel closest to my brothers when I'm either making fun of them, like, hey, Brad, have you gotten fatter lately, right? And they return the favor, like, and I assume you're like, that's cruel. But picture this. You've got a female in a marriage who wants peace and never ever wants to feel kind of less than, and you've got a guy who kind of more chaotic and also feels like true love is making fun. So in our marriage, I'm like, oh, you're just dumb. Oh, you're going to be a baby about that now? Oh, that hurts your feelings. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's horrible because it matters to her. Why am I telling you that? because we feel like we're on completely different planets of communication if we always make it about ourselves. So I'm going to give you an Old Testament story and a new one. In the Old Testament, so this is before Jesus, nothing's changed since Babel, okay? And I want you to think about how powerful, this is in Genesis, so, long, long time ago. It says, then this group said, come, let us build a great city for ourselves, now catch how they talk, for ourselves with a tower that reaches into the sky. A great name will make us, me. A great name will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world. Then God comes on the scene. And he says, come, let's go down and confuse the people with different languages. Then they will not be able to understand each other. Check this out. If I make my life about me, I'm going to speak a language that most of the people around me will never understand or hear. As long as I say, no, but I want to be great, and I want to make things great, and I want to make sure I get my way, and I want to be happy, and everything's about me and my happiness, and if you don't get that, then we're not speaking the same language. Literally, God says, no, they will not be able to understand each other. Why? They're confused because they tried to make it about themselves. I'm telling you guys, big alert here. If you can step back in moments and not make everything about yourself, you actually will communicate better. You really, honestly will. So this morning, and Travis always gives me a hard time. He's been calling me Pastor Props lately. He's like, what's the deal with all the props, right? Pastor Props. Here we go. But I want to show you something just real fast, okay? I want to kind of talk about how this works. And this is all of us. And you're smart people watching online. You're smart. You get this. I get it. But maybe you never really thought through it like this. So what happens in us in any relationship, but let's make it marriage and dating and engage and all that first. Let's make it a romantic relationship. What happens is I have hopes and dreams. And what I do, and the reason I have hopes and dreams is I've either watched my parents and my in-laws or my family, and I've said, man, their marriage is perfect. What my dad does is perfect. So I want that. So I want to repeat what I've seen. That's my hopes. Even though I've never said it out loud to my wife or anybody, that's what I want. Some of you also would be like, no, I saw the worst of the worst. So you go into a relationship saying, I want to avoid everything I've seen and I want to do it completely different. Either way, you have hopes and dreams. But this is how it works. So I've got hopes and dreams. We're going to live in Ironton the rest of our life. And my wife's like, wait, I thought that we would live maybe in Myrtle Beach after we retired, right? John, I want to have tons of babies. I want a football team, right? And she's like, I don't really like kids. And here's what you do. Even when you're engaged, you're like, they'll change their mind, right? Let me just go ahead and put that in there, right? I want to keep the awesome truck I drive. I had an awesome truck when we were dating. Guess what I'm driving now? Little 2004 like Honda Civic, right? Falling apart, right? So, no, I'm going to drive something really nice. You also have concepts about how we're going to do money. My wife's a saver, right? I'm like, no, let's spend it. You got to live. What's it doing in the bank? My daughter's the best at this. My daughter's like, I'm just going to marry rich, right? Okay. What if you don't like him? I don't care. We'll settle on the divorce, right? Take the money and run. But you still have an opinion of what kind of money you're going to have, how you're going to operate, right? That's another, right? Here's a great one. Calendar. See, young couples, if you're just newly married or getting ready to be married, no one talks about this. This is probably one of the hardest ones. What are we going to do? Christmas your whole life, you're like, oh, our Christmas was amazing. You're marrying someone, it's like, our Christmas was amazing. We're going to go there, we're going to do this. So my wife made this so easy when we were first married. She literally said, how about this? I will only take 3 holidays and you can have the rest. She said, I just want Easter, Christmas, and Thanksgiving. Okay? You get Halloween. You get Arbor Day. You get like the 12 spirits of whatever that happens in June. You get all those, right? But that's what we're like, no. How's our calendar going? How are we going to spend time? You might be someone who loves like quality time with someone. So you're like thinking our marriage, we're going to sit around. We will never want to part from each other. And your spouse is like, I hate quality time, right? I don't want to spend time. No, this is terrible. I don't have one for this. I was going to bring my wife's robe for you young guys so you hear this. But in my life, the way I expected my wife to return, you know what my wife thought when she was getting married? My husband will just want me comfy at night. He'll just want me wearing something that's comfy. I don't care if it's oversized. I don't care if I've got on sweatpants. He'll just love me for who I am. Yet, guys, hear me. Did you hear what I just said? Okay? These are hopes and dreams. Yeah. How are we going to handle when it hits the fan? Because you maybe grew up in a home where it's like, we lost our stuff. We lost it. And then we just like, yeah, it's cool. We don't hold on to that. But someone else growing up, they're like, we don't do that. You don't talk to someone like that. They're devastated for months. And you're like, what's your problem? Like, you're so past it, right? These are all, and the reason I'm sharing this, and this is why this is really is truly important. When I take my hopes and dreams, so I've been married to my wife, she's back here, for 24 years. When I take my hopes and dreams and I start putting it in her box, because I think it's hopes and dreams for her, this invisible box, it's not. I'll tell you what it is. For her, it becomes expectations. Well, you're supposed to. Well, I thought you would. My dad always. Well, my mom always said. You get what's happening? And here's what happens. The second it turns from my hopes and dreams to her expectations, a lot of things will go south. A lot. I want you to hear this phrase, okay? When we make our dreams someone else's expectations, we start speaking different languages. So there's 4 ways to handle the box, okay? I just want to give this to you just real quick, okay? And I think we'll put them on the screen, but I want you to hear this. The first is this. So what happens when I'm in a relationship and they don't do what I want? I say, well, you're not going to meet my hopes and dreams, so I'm going to leave. I'll take my stuff, I'll put it back in. This is my stuff, and I'm leaving you, and I'm done. And let me just give you a little warning, okay, because this is tough. Here's the only problem. When you take your hopes and dreams and you leave to go somewhere else, when you meet that new girl, guess what? Or new guy, you're literally going to say, here it is. And I know early on you're like, you don't understand. They're so great. They're so much better than my ex. I get it. But wait about 2 years and come back and talk to me. Why? Because you start handing your hopes and dreams to somebody else. Now, I'm competitive. So here's what I do in mine. No, I want the second one. I just want to win. I just want my wife to do everything I've told her to do. My hopes and dreams. And here's what I've learned about couples. When you win, you're happy. You're like, I love it. Me and Johnny both are fulfilling what? My hopes and dreams. I love it. It's the best life ever. But for me to win and get all my stuff met through her, then she has to conform, the third one. And I'm not going to lie, both people stay a little happy for a while. You know why? Because the temperature goes down. We relax because you're doing things my way, right? And I've always said this. You want to ruin a relationship? Here's what you do, okay? It's so simple. Call it the 3 C's. So simple. We convince, we convict, we control, we coerce. What do I mean by that? Well, John, don't you understand? No, this is the right way to live life. My way. Are you that dumb? Do you not get it? And then what we do, we try to make people feel, we convict them a little bit like, oh, we're going to do things like your mom and dad? They're a mess. Your parents, your friends, they're all a mess. Do it my way, right? So we constantly try to push. And then what happens is usually one strong-willed. If you have 2 strong, then you just constantly fight back and forth. Or if you have one, they're like, fine, I'll conform. And we think everybody's happy, but here's the problem. No one's ever happy when they truly just try to conform to an image someone else wants them to be. We know it's true for the kids. I don't like to do that, but I want you to. Fine. And what happens over time is both of you lose a lot of respect for each other. So we do the 4th one. And this is what we think is common marriage advice. What we do, just compromise. Okay, listen, honey, I'll give you the van, okay, because you need a van and we've got multiple kids. But now because of that, remember, on the weekends, I get to, and what we do is we go back and forth and we compromise. We say, this is the way it wins. This is how you win in a relationship. But it's not. What happens is we just start keeping score, and I'm still trying to get a little bit of my stuff, but I'm going to give and take so I can get more of my stuff. Notice it's all still about me. And we say phrases like this. I've heard this. A couple I know, won't say names. Many people would even know them. They are a Christian couple. They've been married for 30 plus years. And if you ask me about their marriage, I'd say this. I'd go, nah. It's not terrible. I don't think they'll ever I know they won't get divorced if you talk to them because you'll hear them say a phrase I'm about to say. But here's the thing. Would you say their marriage is great, Trent? No. Would you say they're happy? No. But here's what I hear them both say. I'm committed to my marriage before God. I'm committed for my marriage. I told my wife this. We were driving the other day, and I said, you know what? I don't want to be committed to our marriage. I don't. I want to be committed to you. Like, it's insane. I didn't marry a marriage. I married her. But when I say, no, I'm going to be committed to my marriage and my kids. Did you guys get a theme? I'm going to be committed to my stuff. Oh. So it's still ultimately about you, not them. That's what we do. We just compromise and say, okay, here's what we do. And what happens is all of our eyes start to collide. And when eyes collide, we both lose. Both of us. So if we leave if leaving ultimately doesn't fix the situation, if winning really still doesn't fix the situation, if losing doesn't fix the situation, and compromising is probably the best of the four, but it still doesn't really fix the situation, then what do we do? Let me tell you why all four of those are bad. Even if you grew up and like, no, my parents compromised and it was good and we were okay. Let me tell you why all those are bad. They still involve some aspect of keeping some type of score. I do this, you do that, we do go back and forth. It's compromise, but it's keeping score. And when I keep score, that means I put my wife in debt to something. Now, if you don't get anything else, you're probably like, dude, we lost you a long time. You're all over the place. I get it. But if I could give you just this advice, okay? Hear this. As long as someone owes me something, I will never be grateful. Think about that. I can prove that. You know how? All of you in here that have jobs, you get a paycheck. I promise you, think about this. None of you have ever done this. Say you get paid every 2 weeks. You don't get your paycheck on Friday, walk back up to your supervisor, your boss, and go, thank you. This is for, $2,000 is for me? Yeah, it's all yours. Wow. 2 weeks later, you come running back. Again? Is this going to happen every 2 weeks? And they're like, yeah, we pay you every 2. Oh, my God, I love it. You know why? They owe you that. You work for it. Why would I ever be thankful for something that I deserve, that I expected someone to do for me? You know what happens in a relationship? We start expecting, no, I thought you would clean. So what happens even when they finally do clean? You're like, yeah, because I expected it. Not very grateful, is it? And for all of us here, I can tell you this. I've never walked up to someone and said, thank you so much for paying me for my job, because I deserved it. But you know what? Someone's come up to me before and gave me a bonus. I'm like, this mine? Yeah. Thank you. So how do you fix this? And this is going to sound so dumb, but I believe you should do it. You got to learn to start doing this. Wow. Picture this. I walk into our bedroom today when we leave, and I look over on my shelf, and I've got all these clothes that are folded. Folded. My stuff is clean and folded. And I go, wow, you folded my clothes? Trent, I folded your clothes for 24 years. No, I know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I actually thank you, because I don't expect that. I don't expect it. I don't demand it. So, wow, think about it. Well, you know, this person, they cook dinner, they do this, they run the kids here. Wow, you took the kids to practice? You picked them up from school? I do it every day, honey. I know, but I don't expect that, right? I have friends on the front. I won't pull out too much, even though I said who they are so you can all stare at them. But they were talking back and forth about taking kids to Disney. And one talked about kids like, oh, we don't really love it. Yeah, this has been years back. Maybe it's changed. But they're like, we don't really love it. So they're just like, fine, why do we spend this money? And then the other one said, our kids are like, wow, Mickey, wow. And the lady said that. She was like, I'm throwing money at my kids. Get candy, get whatever. Why? Because it changes your heart. But what we do in relationships, we're like, I thought you were going to cook tonight. I thought you were. Well, I've been working all day. Well, so have I. I know, but growing up, my mom cooked all the time. Well, your mom probably didn't work 80 hours a week either, right? See what's happening here? We do. We go back and forth, and we have these little tats. That's the Christian word for it, right? Tat. My wife and I have that. It's called a little tat. Christian, we don't say we fight. It's just a little tat. But right, my wife's like, angry with me, and I say, well, my dad used to always, if I hear what your dad or mom did one more time, she didn't mean it, guys. She's just joking. No, I heard an argument. She said she was going to murder you. She's joking. Well, she's sharpening a knife, just going to cut carrots, right? Like we feel this. But at the end of the day, it's this expectation. And here's why this is important. Owe me eliminates love me. Think about that. Owe me eliminates love me. Owe you eliminates love you. It does. What do I mean by that? I can't love someone if they're just doing what I expect. Man, you're thankful for your wife. She's doing this. She's doing that. I know, but she should. See what I mean? You're not grateful for something you expect. Owe me. As long as you owe me, I can't love you unconditional. You know what we do, guys? We do this with God. God loves you unconditionally, no conditions. Yeah, I know, but I owe him, and if I don't, then he's probably going to have expectations. He's disappointed. I mean, we do this. This is Bible Belt. God loves you, but now there's expectations. That's cool, but unconditional love can never have expectations. But we turn around and do it to the people around us. Why? Because we want to be in control and we want to get our way. And here's the good news as we close. Jesus reversed it. I know I'm a broken record. I know I say the same thing, but Jesus, with his followers, he had this new command, right? Guys, I know there's 613. I know you've been taught to memorize those, but then he summarized it in the Old Testament with 2. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, body, spirit, and then love your neighbor as yourself. So they're like, okay, we get it, just 2. And he's like, no, I'm actually going to give you 1. Okay, which one of those 2? No, I'm going to give you a new command that supersedes all these. And here's the command. As I've loved you, love one another. Now, here's why this verse is so powerful. You can apply it to everything. So as Jesus has loved me, that's the way I'm supposed to love my children. As I've loved you, love your wife. As I've loved you, love your coworkers. As I've loved you, love the people who work for you. What? It's crazy talk. But think about this a second. You can also put in other words. As I've forgiven you, forgive her. As I have been patient with you, be patient with him. Stupid. I'm never doing that. Right? Jesus reversed it. So what happened? Jesus teaches this command. He dies. The early church in Acts 2 come together. The Bible says they gave all their stuff as had need. So just be like, hey, Carl, you need help? All right, Carl, I'll hook you up. I'll give you money. Hey, I've been kind of struggling. We don't have gas money. Literally. So I'm trying. Mike's like, hey, yeah, I got you, bro. Hooking me up. They literally shared everything. They were in one spirit together. And notice how communication changes. It says on the day of Pentecost, the first day of the church, officially kind of, all the believers were meeting together in one place. They're together, they're sharing, they're putting each other above themselves, they're loving as they've already been loved. Suddenly there's a sound from heaven like the roaring of a mighty windstorm, and it filled the house where they were sitting, and everyone present was filled with the Holy Spirit and began speaking in other languages. Wait, what? So they literally started speaking in languages other people could hear. Babel, I'm going to do it for me. It's all about me. And now I'm talking and no one can understand me. Relationships. I'm actually going to lower myself. I'm going to do something for somebody else. And guess what? Now I can speak their language because I'm not making it about me. So, as we close, let's be honest, because you guys are smart. You're smarter than me. You are. I mean that. And that's not like, oh, like you're smarter than I am. I know what your kickback is. So what do we do? What do we do? So Trent, I mean, let's be honest, this is still my hopes and dreams, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm glad you have hopes and dreams. All of you in here, I'm glad you have hopes and dreams. So do I just empty it? Do I just dump my stuff and say, I don't care about a career, I don't care about anything I've dreamed of doing? No. Because here's what you hear. Do we both just empty it and say, there's no rules, no roles, no responsibilities? Me and my wife are just going to live in filth? It's like, hey, you need to cook dinner. I'm not cooking. She's not cooking. We don't care. We just stay dirty, right? We lose our home because no, I get it. That can't work. So what do we do? Let me give you some advice. You keep your stuff in your box. Now, a good relationship, you can talk about this. You can discuss it. That's great. I can sit with my wife and say, about 17, 18 years ago, we sat just right over here across the street, pulled in the parking lot where we were living in South Point. And I looked at my wife and said, I think God wants me to start a church. And you know what she said? What? She couldn't fathom it, right? What was I doing? I was sharing my hopes and dreams to her. You can share. You can talk about. You can discuss. You talk about rules. Hey, can you cook tonight? Or, I'm getting home late. All that's fine. But there's a difference when I say, no, you're supposed to always cook. And you're supposed to always clean clothes because that's the way I see it. And your spouse is like, yeah, but I thought you would fix the house. You can't get what I'm saying? So we have to keep our stuff in our box, which asks the next question. Okay, Trent, but how do you do that? The answer to this question is a question I want to ask you, and it will change your life if you take it to heart. It will. I'm telling you, this is a relationship for all relationships, all vertical. You have the rest of your life if you just can say this. Sometimes, and I'll be honest, here even at work, I'll have a plan. I'll be meeting with our elders and our leaders of our church, and I'll say something. They're like, we don't like that. We don't want to do that. And you know what? I get angry because they're not doing what I want. And here's something I've learned to say, especially with my wife and my kids. Here's the question. So my wife's name's Jonda. She's in this room. I start getting worked up. Things aren't going the way I want. What does Jonda owe me? Before God, what does she owe me? Think about that. I mean, you guys can answer for me. What does my wife owe me every day of my life? And some of you will be like, well, she has to love you. She has to. No. What does she really owe me? My wife. You know what the answer is? Nothing. Nothing. She doesn't owe me anything. And here is where I found the magic. And this is not going to make sense to you guys. I get it. I get it if you get up and walk out, because I probably would do the same if you think about it. What do happy people and happy couples know? What do they know? Because they know a secret. Over that course of 16 to about 24, I started really leaning into people who were getting it and did it right. And I realized those people did something so profound, so amazing. They know something. They do. And they live in this world. They live in a world that says to the people I love and care about, I owe you everything, yet I never expect one thing in return. Think about that. And I know what you're thinking, because you're like me. You're like, Trent, that sounds miserable. That sounds like the worst life I've ever heard. But can I ask you a question? You're doing it your way, right? You want to make it about you and make sure you're getting yourself. How's that working? Honestly. Because I agree, it's so backwards that the people that make sense how they're doing life for me aren't doing very well at life. But the people who almost say, no, she doesn't owe me anything. I feel like I owe her everything. I try to live in that, but she doesn't owe me anything. They are happier. So here's the advice. Keep it in your box and start a submission competition. Now, I know what you're saying. I get it. It's like, Trent, this is the most churchy thing you've ever said, because I'm not doing that, and you don't have to. And God will still love you unconditionally. But here's what I would say. Are you happy? Are you looking at, we've been married 24 years. Can I look at my wife and say, I'm happier now at 24 than I was year 2? I'm happier now than I've ever been. Say that? Can we say that when it's 50? Can we say that when it's 75 years? Why? Because the people who get this say, this phrase, they know they owe the other person everything and are not owed anything in return. So as we close, I'm going to come full circle with the cruise, okay? I want to explain kind of how this hopes and dreams and expectations works. And I want you to feel this. So my wife went on this cheap cruise. It was awesome, amazing. We had a great time. And so because we're backwoods like you guys, Bible Belt. We don't get out much. So every night we like to go eat. We don't even dress up, but we like just the fact you get to sit down, no kids. It's like a fancy dinner, so we're eating. Very first night we have a waiter. And if you know anything about the hotel employees, a lot of them are like Thailand, like those type of countries. And he was like, my name is Babu. Like, hey, Babu. Nice guy. We talk, get there the next night for dinner. He's our guy again. And he was very nice, awesome, great. He did a great job. Super nice, we talk. But then on night 3, we get Maria. And Maria, I'm guessing, my wife, maybe mid-20s. Maria. And she walks over, and she is just like this amazing personality. Amazing. And she's happy, she's joking like, I think I'll get the steak. You don't need red meat. You fat American, eat fish. It's like she's a good time. She's so fun. It's awesome. And I watched her, and she left our table. She went to serve a table of an older couple, and they were straight jerks. They are the most angry, hateful people, whatever. You know what? She's still singing. Yeah, old man, wait. She's happy. She's happy. To get to day 4, and then we get, I think, Poo-Poo. Okay? And his name matched. He's like, hi, I'm Poo-Poo. Hey, waitress, I hate my life. I hate you. Can we get extra appetizers? No, you can't do that. Maria let us do it. I hate Maria. He's not happy. He's miserable. And he hated and I'm not saying he's a terrible waiter, but you just tell he was miserable. Now let's think about all these people. They're on the same boat. Literally, figuratively. Get that? No pun intended. They're on the same boat. They've all been there for probably 6, 8, 10 months. They're there for a long time. They probably all miss their family. None of them are making crazy money. And here's what hit me. I didn't tell my wife this. Here's what hit me. One night I went walking to go do something. She might have been with me. Maybe get pizza, probably something. But we're walking, and on this cruise ship, I've never seen it before, all the workers would eat at night. All around the ship. I've never been on a ship that did that, but they did. They're all eating. And I walked by Poo-Poo. I kid you not, Poo-Poo was eating by himself. 4 more months. I hate my life. And I get it. That's a tough job. Serve. All you do is submit to people all day. All you do is serve people. I walked by Poo-Poo, hate my life. A couple more tables down, and you get Maria, and she's circled by 6 people. And it sounds like they're having a party. Oh, Maria, you're crazy. I know. And here's my whole point. None of their situations were any different. None. They all had the exact same. They're on this boat. They're getting paid the same. They're having to serve people all day, which none of us think sounds fun. But there was a girl, this female, who just said, no, I'm going to make it a submission competition every day. And she was happier than all of them doing the exact same thing. Why? Because she probably didn't say, well, I didn't have this, didn't do that. She literally got this Jesus. I don't know if she's a Jesus follower or not, but she probably is. Or else she's figured out a trick to the world. It's like, no, how can you be happy serving other people all day long? Because I choose to. Because I made that choice. And at night, when everyone else is miserable and we're in bed, right? I love the bed fights. You lean over and they try to touch you with a little bit of the toe. I'm not giving you any toe tonight, right? Right? You ever been so mad you don't want to touch each other, you lean over? That's probably the way Poo-Poo's marriage is going to be. Oh, yeah, I can't believe you didn't. Right? But I was like, you know what? People want to be married to a Maria. She's a good time. She's happy. And she's doing the exact same thing. So here's what I challenge you guys with. You got to make the choice. All of us here. And you can put expectations and the stuff I need to do, and why are my kids not doing what I need them to do? The expectation. You can do all that. Or you can learn the secret and say, I'm going to be happy serving others and realizing not one of you in this room owe me anything. Do you know that? Not one of you. And the more I can believe that, the more free I become. And I actually find more joy in my life when I try to serve you, even if you don't like me or ever return the favor. Because that's the secret to happy people, and that's what happy couples know. Let's pray. Father, I thank you for this time together. I thank you for this group of people. God, I do pray. I know life's tough. I do. And I'm not I know a little 25, 30-minute talk doesn't fit. I get it, God. I do. But I pray for people in this room that they would realize just how difficult it is when I think others owe me anything. And God, I thank you because that's not just a pipe dream. You literally say, as your son, now that we put our faith and trust in you, now lives in us. Now, literally, the Spirit of you, the Spirit of God lives in me and empowers and equips me to live this awesome way to live. So, God, I pray today that some people in here maybe would lean in and at least just experiment and say, okay, who was the one person who had the most hopes and dreams, truly lived on purpose? Nobody more than your son, God, ever did that. Who had the most joy and peace every day they walked the earth? Your son. How did he do that? I came, not to be served, but to serve. I came not expecting anyone in this room to owe me anything, even though I'm willing to give them everything. And because of that, you show us the way, the real way, that we not only find life and joy and peace, but even happiness. So God, I pray today, I pray you would challenge our beliefs. I pray you would challenge the way that we do life and relationships. And I know there's a lot of comeback, God, but I've been doing that, and they haven't done anything for me. Okay, so what? Is it about you? Is it about me? So this phrase, God, as we walk away this week, so when someone in our home, our children, our spouse, someone at work, someone at the ball field, when someone crosses us or doesn't do what we expected from them, God, help us all to step back for just a second and in our mind, without doing anything else before we explode, just say, God, what do they owe me? What does this person owe me right now? And the truth is, they don't owe me anything. God, you didn't owe me anything. Yet you still chose to give me everything. God, I pray we could turn that around and flip it on other people. Or we could live lives that say, you don't owe me anything. And I feel like I owe you everything. And as backward and as crazy as that is, God, it's actually the way we all find life and living. So Jesus, I pray today. Pray for some people in here who may be going through some tough times, and I know it's way deeper than maybe even the stuff that I said. I pray for people watching online. I pray for people who maybe not even with relationships are just really struggling right now and maybe got some bad news. God, I pray for all the people hurting. I pray we'd lean into your way, trust you more, the way of life. You tell us you're the way, the truth, and the life. It all comes through you. Help us to walk that way. We ask these things in your name, and amen. Guys, love to see you for Mother's Day. We have a